All praise,
Got it. All right.
all praise is due to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity, Brother Lukman. Brother Lukman is going to do the reading because of my visual impairment. Brother Lukman is going to do the reading of my presentation, and I will expound wherever. And Brother Lukman will be looking at the hands of those who want to comment, with a cognition or something, and he will let us know when someone wants to comment. And I pray this is beneficial to everyone.
Set up here. Okay, Sister Tina, I have the first slide up, and we are ready to roll.
Yes, sir.
The four flows of aberration and the four chief attributes of Allah. By Sister Tina Nkata Muhammad. And this is the overview. The questions that she will ask to create some deliberative dialogue. What is the meaning of flow? Oh, well, you go ahead and read them, or you want me to read them?
Okay, I can read this. Okay. What is the meaning of flow? What are the four flows? What is the meaning of aberration? What are the four chief attributes of Allah?
Did you want to expand on that at all, sister? You want to go to the next slide?
Go to the next. We can go to the next slide. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. What is flow? Brother Lukman, would you read this slide, please?
Yes, ma'am. What is flow? An impulse or direction of energy particles or thought or masses between terminals. It's the progress of particles or impulses or waves from point A to point B. Flow has the connotation of being somewhat directional, and that is from the Dianetics Technical Dictionary, page 165.
Can we put our phones on mute, please? Thank you.
All right. To circulate, to move in a circle or circuit or orbit, especially to follow a course that returns to the starting point. An example of this is as blood circulates through the body.
And this definition is from Merriam-Webster Dictionary.
Okay.
I thought it was very interesting that it said circulate. Flow is to circulate, and that is to move in a circle, circuit, or orbit. Circuit is part of the language in Dianetics, and orbit is our language in the Supreme Wisdom. And circle, Sister Belinda, what is that? That circle where it has the
concentric circle.
That's it. The centric. Yeah, it made me think of that as well. Yes, sir. Next slide, Brother Lukman, please.
Yes, ma'am. Closing the gap, page 318. And you want me to take that, sister?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me once that it takes 500 seconds, 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the light traveling at 186,000 miles per second to travel from the sun to the earth. Likewise, he said, it takes 500 seconds, 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the blood to make a complete circulation between the heel and the brain and back. He said, when you go to visit a person that is sick, if you put the right word in their ear within 8 minutes and 20 seconds, you will see a change in the spirit of such person. And you have some comments for that one, sister.
Yes, sir. in the next slide, I want to ask the question, what do we tell ourselves?
I only want to call her a lady. One of them females walk by, and it looked like she either just got off the pole or she was saying it to the phone. It was like a,
Where's that
like,
coming?
what in the hell?
Sister Barbara.
Okay, let me make one quick adjustment. Oh, let's see. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Okay, that's fixed. That's fixed. That's fixed. That's fixed. All right, sister, you're back up.
Okay, so in regards to what the minister says in closing the gap, how blood flows from the heel of the foot to the head and back, that's from one point to another. That's circulation, that's a flow. And the question I want to ask is, what word do we put in our own ear about ourselves or others that will circulate or cause a thought to flow within self? You know, so what do we tell ourselves about ourselves? And that's a question that I want us to ask ourselves. You know, what do I tell myself about myself? Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. So that's a question. Next slide, Brother Lukeman, please.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to that before we move to the next slide? Any comments or anything on that one?
Yes, sir. I had a thinking on that
Go ahead, Sister Denise.
one. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, loud and clear.
Yes, sir. My sister called me from the ER room, and I said, "What you doing there?" And she said, "I just lost all energy, you know, and I'm laying here." And I just started talking to her about the 9 therapies that we have that they always talk about every Sunday. And that's what it was. She hadn't boosted her immune system. And I was like, girl, you a large child. Get off of that bed. You know, She said, that's right.
There you go.
And I came to her and she said, I got some at home. And I said, you're gonna have to do double time with that therapy now, because you relax, you let it lay aside, and now look at you. I said, get out of that emergency room and go home into your laboratory, as the minister calls our kitchen, and heal yourself. You know, and she felt so good after that. She said, I'm leaving out of here right now. So that's one of the ways that you know, I reminded her of what was given to us when we get like that. And now you got a double time to get back to normal. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
So Jesus told Lazarus to get up and walk.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm talking about. That's right.
Your bed.
And we
Pick
got
up
one
your
hand.
bed and walk.
Pick up your bed and walk. Yes, ma'am. Now, all this time I've been calling you Sister Melanie, but you pronounce your name Sister Milani?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I accept Melanie, but
Okay.
it actually is Milani.
All right, Sister Milani.
All right, thank you, sir. What I thought of with Sister Tina's question was demon circuits, you know, from Dianetics, because we tell us all, we tell these things to ourselves that may have been said to us as part of an engram, and we believe it. And so throughout our lives and even throughout our days, things will come up and we say we can't do it, or you're not smart enough, you can't handle that, you're dumb, whatever. And these are demon circuits that we tell ourselves. And that's what I thought. And that's the opposite of what Brother Minister was talking about. But these are demon circuits that we tell ourselves about ourselves that stop us from doing things that we actually can accomplish
Yes,
from
ma'am.
engrams.
That's
Mhm.
right. That's
From
right.
from the verbal part of the engram.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. And we say that about others as well.
Yes. Mhm.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
We got another hand up, Sister Jacqueline.
Yes, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Well,
salam.
Sister Atina, I thought about the slinking devil
Mhm.
whispered in my ear because I struggle with technology, comprehending technology, and I'm constantly trying to learn it, but the slinking devil is always in my ear telling me it's just over my head. I can't handle it. However, I continue to push through it and just won't give up. But that's what I thought about when you talked about the flow.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. That came to my mind as well, Sister Jacqueline.
Alhamdulillah.
All right.
Another thing I thought about
Oh, go ahead.
was a blood clot. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
somebody else?
bring it.
I was thinking about a blood clot and the flow can't get through because it's a ridge. I guess you would call it a ridge.
Yes, ma'am. Right and
A
exact.
ridge. And then and I thought about our, my attitude determines my altitude.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can unclog the blood clot and things can flow. And sometimes I think our attitude, hinders us. It's like a cutoff valve, that the flow is coming, but it can't go through. It's like it's a bend in the water hose, which caused the flow circuit not to come all the way through. And that's what I was thinking about because, we have to unclog. I had a very unclogging weekend at a memorial service, and when it was over, everybody was cool. But in the beginning, it was so many clots and I ain't gonna. You did this. I said, what? Where am I? I mean, am I inside of a body with people and all these clots and
The blood clots.
forming and yes, and I didn't want nobody to have a heart attack. Because that's what it would cause, an attack. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about that blood.
So,
Yes,
Sister
ma'am.
Denise, so you had to be the flowing blood that wasn't a blood clot in order to help the other that were blood clots start to flow.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
that's what.
because I say that the electrician has been in the house because you know when the electrician has been in the house because the light is on.
Yes.
And I think I sort of lost my mind with love, if y'all understand what I'm saying. I was so happy to see everybody. And it was like it was a contagious, but it wasn't an aberration contagion. It was happy contagious because we were talking about a person that had a laughter that even if you didn't want to laugh, you had to laugh after listening to him laugh, and it was contagious. And so that's where we started to open that floor, and I don't know why Colgate did not get him because he has $1 million smile. Because every picture was him showing all his teeth. I said they could have made some money with him, and everybody laughed. I wasn't trying to be a comedian, but that's how he was. I was trying to unclog that blood clot, to massage it, and get it out of there. So that's all. I had a, praise be to Allah.
Yes.
That's it.
Allah.
All I
1 hour and 50 minutes, and then you'll get to Punta Cana at 12:30 p.m.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brother Lukman. Brother Lukman?
Yes, ma'am. Can someone send sister a text message? And I think y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll find a way to do some editing.
Yes.
All right, the 4 flows. You want me to read these as well, Sister Tina?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you got flow 1 is something that happens to self. So when something happens to us, that's flow number 1. Flow number 2 is when we do something to someone else. Flow number 3, as Sister Denise was speaking about, is when you see other people doing things to other people. And flow 0 is what we do to ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have anything to add to that, Sister Tina?
No, sir.
Okay. We have a hand up. Go ahead, Sister Patricia.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, what's the difference between flow 1 and flow 0? It says the same thing, doesn't it?
No, flow 1 is when someone is doing something to you. It's probably, that was just the way it was worded in the definitions. Something that's happening to you. So if I'm doing something to you.
Oh, happening, okay.
Yeah, happening to you. That's flow number 1. When you're doing something to someone else, that's flow 2. If you watched me doing something towards someone else, that would be flow 3. And then what you do to yourself is flow 0.
Okay, so because I apologize for popping in late.
No, that's fine.
So the 4 flows, okay, you're trying to, this is Dianetics, right? Because I don't
Yes, ma'am.
recall this in the lessons that I have on the flows. Maybe it was so much I covered, I may have forgot it, but this is in the Dianetics, the flows? The 4
No, this
flows?
is not in the Dianetics book. This is coming from the Dianetics Technical Dictionary.
Oh,
But this is coming from, let me see if I can find exactly where they mention the flows. Let's see.
Sister Patricia, I have never seen the flows, the 4 flows mentioned in any of the extension courses either. But I think I started learning about it in Brother Pateen's platform, on Brother Pateen, Sister Belinda, and Sister Jacqueline's platform. And I became fascinated with it after reading the definition in the Dianetics Technical Dictionary. And I could see how the 4 flows worked. So when I was able to tie it into something else, that's where this whole presentation came from, by me seeing how to tie it into the 4 chief attributes of Allah. But I don't ever remember seeing it in the extension courses.
yes,
But
ma'am.
it is a concept. It is a scientific way that he's explaining thought, emotion, and effort. And we're going to speak on that later on in the presentation.
Okay, yes, ma'am, thanks.
Sister Cheryl.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam.
Well, Sister Cheryl.
I just want to point out to Sister Tina, and the way you and Brother Lukman is fashioning this is just wonderful. but as you move forward, they do go into that. And
Mhm.
it is on extension courses, but they're further apart. I don't want to get into that. They're for advanced, but easy. But you and Brother Lukeman is making this very simple, and I'm looking at it. So that's only thing I had to share.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Cheryl.
And
I'm
what
gonna-
oh,
I'm gonna,
okay.
go ahead. Go ahead, Brother Lukeman.
I was just gonna just kind of add some mass to it, just so that even though, yeah, it's considered a advanced concept. In the Dianetic Technical Dictionary, it's mentioned that it originates in the Hubbard Communications Office Bulletin. It's called HCOB. But really, when you look at these four flows, this boils down the four basic elements. And I think Brother Abdul Malik Saeed, formerly Brother Minister Tony, had mentioned that these four flows represent four devils. And if you look at aberration, our aberrated state can be boiled down to these four concepts. Because number one, if you look at our aberration, if you look at our lessons, say it like this: why does he fear now that he's a grown man? Answer: because he was taught to eat the wrong food when he was a child. That represents a principle. And from that principle, we can extract the concept of why are we aberrated now as adults? Because we were taught to eat the wrong food when we were children, but it doesn't mean literally we ate the wrong food. Yeah, we probably did eat the wrong food as children. But what that represents is an allegory or a metaphor that there are certain things that took place in our childhood, and we had to use those in order to adjust to our environment, to survive an environment we could not change. We had to take on characteristics and behaviors to survive that environment. And the example that we always use is sometimes children, when they live in environments that are abusive, they might take on what's called imaginary friends. That's understandable. But if you're sitting on the screen right now and you start talking to your imaginary friend now, then that's an issue. So there's certain things we do as adults. Our behaviors and our characteristics now are actually based on what happened to us when we were children. That's flow number one. So now what happens is when we're in a chronic, an environment that produces chronic restimulation, what we learn from the tech is we would either take on the valence of the superior individual in that engram, or we could possibly take on the victim. And that is how we treat other people. That's flow number two. Flow number three is we sit back and watch aberrated people go back and forth. And that, if you look in the Dianetics book 1, is how we get aberration by contagion. Because L. Ron Hubbard speaks about if you have an aberrated father, he might re-stimulate the mother might re-stimulate the father, and then both of them are producing the environment that produces the engram in the children. And then what happens is when no one's around, guess what? We aberrate ourselves. And it takes me to the point of where the minister says, why do we say this before every prayer? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And there's no one in the room but you. Mm-hmm. Because we have our own devils with us now, and a lot of times we are our own worst enemy. So those are the basic four flows. And I can't think of anything else outside of those four that actually cause us to be aberrated. Mm-hmm. So does that kind of, I think we might have an understanding of the four flows?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Very well put.
Praise be to Allah. I'm starting to learn about the four flows from another scientist in the room.
Praise be to Allah. And this, the four flows right here, this is in the technical dictionary, yes, on page 165.
Mm-hmm. Okay, emotion and the four flows. HBPC, that means the Handbook for Pre-Clears, chapter 6, under the chapter Emotion, L. Ron Hubbard says, As the operating mechanism between thought and action, emotion should be well understood. Emotion exists to monitor motion. Does everyone follow that?
No, 'cause you said emotion exists. To monitor
Emotion
motion?
exists to monitor motion.
If you do the next bullet point and we'll, talk about that.
You got it. So it appears that the four flows or the four ways thought from within becomes action or motion, either constructive or destructive.
Now, Sister Belinda, I would like if she could expound on this a little bit more, because Sister Belinda talks about thought, emotion, effort. Often I have heard her speak on that. And for me, in my observation, that's what the four flows are. Because a flow, according to the definition, it's thought. It starts with thought, and thought goes to emotion, and emotion is what causes the effort or action or motion, either destructive or constructive. So, Sister Belinda, can you expound on that a little bit?
You pretty much did it justice. It's a cycle of action. So we know that everything begins with the thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have an emotion about that thought. And then what flows after that is the action that you take based on that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And as the bullet point has, it can be constructive or destructive.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So was that Sister Patricia who had asked that question or made that statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Patricia, does that clear it up a little bit?
It does. I just, maybe I didn't hear it properly because I thought he said emotion exists. I mean, emotion monitor emotion,
No,
but it's emotion monitor motion.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's why I was confused, because I said, how is the emotion gonna monitor emotions?
Mhm.
But it's
Right.
motions.
Right. So you understand it now? Emotion monitors motion.
So so motion is something we do. So it's a body language or yeah, okay, I'm getting it.
Like
Okay.
if you're angry, like
I
you're
should-
angry,
Right.
like
I should have got a prerequisite before I got.
because Sister Patricia, because if you're angry, that can cause you to beat somebody up, right?
Well, yeah, lash out. Yeah, it's true.
Right. Or if you're happy, that can cause you to hug someone, right?
Yeah, yes, correct.
So that's how emotion monitors motion.
Okay. I see where it's going. Yes.
Okay.
And we have another hand up, two hands up, Sister Belinda and Sister Denise.
Yeah, I'm gonna relate it to the sweet tooth. I have this thought, I want ice cream.
Oh God.
I have a strong emotion about ice cream. It makes me feel good, whole bunch of stuff about ice cream. And then I make every effort
Yes.
based on that emotion to secure that ice cream.
Oh
So
my
that's your thought, emotion, and your effort.
Allahu Akbar.
And that's also called what? In the language of the minister.
Deceptive intelligence.
Deceptive intelligence.
Deceptive intelligence. Thank you, Sister Belinda. Go ahead, Sister Denise.
I don't, now this is just, I was thinking about in the court system, when they talk about premeditative,
Mm-hmm.
that you,
Mm.
you have that thought and you hold that thought, and then that thought leads into other type of thoughts, and then you act out on it. And, you know, you might harm somebody because you know, you've already gave the judgment on it and everything. It's like, no, you going down today, you know, or something like that. And so first it was, you hurt me. Now it's, I need to get rid of you. You know, your emotions have moved from one angle to another, and then people carry it out. They regret it because you know, they didn't get control of it. They just you know, it was there. They didn't get rid of that thought immediately. You know, it just festered and turned into something. So that's what I was thinking about, the premeditated, you know,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
which is
Yes.
terrible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sister Denise.
Oh, go ahead, Sister Tina.
yes, ma'am. I'm done. I'm
And
done.
that made me think about, again, Sister Patricia's, you know, question, how emotion monitors motion. Because to monitor something is to check it. So
Right.
when our
That's
emotion
right.
is checked, our motion will be correct.
Okay, so also when you say monitor, you're saying also to follow it or keep an eye on it so you can be able to control it.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have another hand, Sister Milani.
Yes, sir. I was just thinking, as Sister Tina and Sister Belinda were talking, for me, it was that emotion exists to either influence or determine or control. I think I better understood it that way, and I was just putting that out. That emotion influences, it determines, it controls motion. And
Mhm.
so for me, that gave me a better understanding, and I was just sharing that.
Praise be to
Yes,
God.
that's right. Right.
And
Praise
Sister
to Allah.
Yeah.
Belinda just said the monitor can be the self-accusing spirit, most definitely.
Yes.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. Sister Patricia.
Now that we're talking on this, I'm reflecting yesterday's episode. Something happened and I was prepared to go, I'm gonna say some slang, go off on an individual who would come to my house, right? And it was a family member. And I was sketching it in my head before they got here. And I'm glad I did that because that goes back to I was monitoring what my emotion was going to be when she got here, right? So I was going back and forth with myself, sketching it out. Okay, if I say it like this, what's going to happen with this? How I'm going to handle this? What I'm going to do? Am I going to pop her? I mean, I'm being honest. That's the way I was feeling.
Because we
And
ain't there
so,
yet.
you know, I'm glad I sketched it out like that because when the person drove up into the driveway, which I told them not to come, they came anyway. I handled it very well. I didn't even go outside, first of all, because I knew I had to think about a couple of things. My blood pressure, my emotion, which way it's gonna go. Am I gonna swing? I'm gonna hit. And police, you know, Channel 2 News, whatever, you know. So I had to, I'm glad I went back and forth and monitor it. Now I see what happened yesterday, but it's good that we're talking about this because I actually was monitoring my emotions all day yesterday. All day I was thinking about what I'm gonna do when I see her, how I'm gonna do it. Is it gonna hurt? I mean, I'm just going through this back and forth because I had so much emotions and upsetness with her. But that really calmed me down because I didn't respond the way I thought I was gonna do. I was prepared to respond that way. I thought about it for like a couple of days.
There you go. Keyword, you thought about it. There you go.
Yes. And so when it came to that point, that voice said, it ain't even worth it. Don't even approach it. Matter of fact, don't even go outside. And I didn't.
Mhm.
And they spoke with the other family members in my house and they left. And I said, wow, that was a test because I said, do not come to the house. Came anyway. I said, woo, that's Satan, boy. He works 24/7.
Yes,
So
Mm.
I'm glad I'm going over this because then I can monitor because, that motion gets with you and it overcomes, your heart rate and your breathing and man, it takes over. And
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have to be very careful because it can be a health risk. And and it does something, it holds on. It's like magnetic. Every time you think like that or think about that person, there goes those feelings. We were talking about this on this episode that we had with Sister Belinda about emotions and feelings. There is a great difference.
Mhm.
And you have to be able to understand them so you can control them. So
Yes.
I'm glad you picked this. Ooh,
All
I tell
praises.
you, I get on it all the time. That's why I be trying to hear them get on. I be trying to hear them get on because this really helps out to make you respond different to certain things that comes upon in your life. I appreciate everyone that when they bring those subjects up, this is very helpful for me. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Patricia.
I'm gonna pose two questions to Sister Tina now, or the first question is for anyone. What Sister Patricia just illustrated, monitoring the emotions before producing the action, would that be the same as God appearing as a burning bush? Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said the meaning of God appearing as a burning bush represented that God had emotion, but he was not allowing his emotion to consume him.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Mhm.
oh, go ahead.
It looks like that to me because Sister Patricia, she thought about it first. She had to think about it first.
Mhm.
So she had to look at how she's going to handle it. So she looked at her emotions, which monitored her emotion, which actually checked her emotion. It checked how she dealt with the situation.
Mhm.
So yes, sir, it does sound like it's the same as the burning bush.
Now, Sister
Because
Tina, which of the four attributes would that be?
in the four attributes, it's like what you do to yourself.
No, the four attributes, not the flows.
The four attributes. That's actually mercy.
Okay, it is mercy, but what else can you see in that?
That's beneficence as well.
Okay, now what else?
And I also see Rob and Malik.
Yes, ma'am.
I see all four of them. Yes, sir.
Mm.
Yes, but we're gonna get to that, Brother Luke.
I know, I'm just setting the stage. I'm planting the seed out there. I'm setting the stage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
You monitoring.
I'm monitoring. Sister Milani.
Yes, sir. As we're talking about this, and I'm always thinking about the things we say in the nation. Rise above emotion into the thinking of God. And so I think for me, this ties in with that, and it's giving us a better understanding of what that actually means. And with you saying about the burning bush, because a lot has emotion, but he
Yeah.
just doesn't allow his emotion to control him. He controls his emotion, or he monitors his emotion. And so for me, this is it's giving a better understanding or clarification that I'm always looking for, because we say slogans and we really don't know the science or the true understanding or the spiritual aspect of what we're saying. We just say them because we say them in the nation. So for me, this is really good because it's bringing it out in a different way. So I thank you, Sister Tina.
Thank you. All praise is due to Allah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, we got another hand, Sister Shayla.
Assalamu alaikum. I hear when you ask the attributes of Allah, right? What do we hear? But I also, in this, I see the destroyer, that if it's not put in check, can overrun, because there's a destructive part to us,
Mhm.
and there's a place for destruction. But when destruction, the first thing that took over was anger and then destruction, but she monitored it and thought about it. And then and that's the mercy part of the God in
Mhm.
herself. So I saw destruction as one of the attributes here that
Most definitely.
that puts itself in front of all the other ones.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you, Jayla. Sister Denise. You're on mute. There you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I thought about the power of the headpiece. You said the headpiece got power. If there was a real, my two family members, my two brothers, they've been holding things, and when they saw each other, what they was gonna do and all this. And I remember one of my brothers said, you need to wear your headpiece to these family functions, because it's something about that headpiece that calms everybody down. I don't know if they think you a nun or whatever, but it's something about that head, And so when we got there, I was monitoring both of them because I know it was emotions there.
Mm.
And he was moving around and they were moving around looking at him, because they had ostracized him, but he came with me, so they were looking at me, come on, I love you, yeah, because I'm not going there with you all. It was like my face said, I'm not going there, and you all not going there today either, So I thought about that, trying to bring some peace between, two brothers. And he didn't know if he should come or not. I said, you can come with me. So it was like, what are you doing with her? Like, what are you doing with her? And Allah worked that thing out. I'm so glad, because I couldn't this keep going on between people. They just letting the few go on, talking to everybody about it, and everybody ostracized. I couldn't take it anymore. So I was acting like did nothing happen. That was my attitude. We just here, did nothing happen. So I was thinking about that as you was talking about monitoring, because I was looking at both of them, and then a couple of times I kind of called my mother's name out, like, remember the way she raised us. So I got through that by the grace of Allah. So that's all. That came up, and I thought about how I was just walking around and that headpiece was just flowing over, everybody, and they were like, "We're so happy you here." I said, "I am too," because they was really talking about doing some serious to each other. So I thank Allah that none of that happened by Allah's grace and mercy.
Yes,
I
yes.
said, Allah, I called my mother's name, and they looked kind of calmed down, because I ain't know what to say, really. I was just monitoring, let me see who look like they getting heated. Is anybody hot? Yes, sir. I felt like a referee with a headpiece. I'm
And
not going to do this here, right?
and that
Yes,
and
ma'am. Thank you.
and that right, yes, ma'am, Sister Denise, thank you. That right there was flow 3, what we see others do to others.
Mhm.
And how you handled it. All you had to do was have your headpiece on. All praise is due to Allah. That was one of the flows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have another hand, Sister Shayla. Mute. You're on mute, Sister Shayla. Okay, maybe she stepped away. Go ahead, Sister Tina.
Okay, can we go to the next slide, please?
Yes, ma'am. And here's where we get to the 4 chief attributes. The 4 chief attributes of Allah. The word attribute means character, criterion, or trait. And the word chief means of great importance. The synonyms are central, first, foremost, great, highest, key, leading, and supreme. The antonyms means last and least. You want me to read the study guide, Closing the Gap, Sister Tina?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please.
This comes from study guide number 20, Closing the Gap. It says, in the Holy Quran, the revealed word of Allah God, which takes us to the end of this cycle of time, every surah or chapter, except the 9th, begins with two divine attributes, Rahman, beneficence, and Rahim, mercy. As noted by Maulana Muhammad Ali in the Religion of Islam, these names, along with Rab, Lord and Nourisher unto perfection, and Malik, Master, the day of requital, must be considered among the chief attributive names of the divine being, and all his other attributes are but offshoots of these four essential attributes.
And that was from Sister Ava, her forward in Closing the Gap study guide.
Okay. The best names. And Allah's are the best names, so calling him thereby and leave alone those who violate the sanctity of his names, they will be recompensed for what they do. That is Surah 7, Ayat 180. And in the footnote, it says, by Al-Asma al-Husna are meant names expressing the most excellent attributes of the divine being. By calling on him thereby is meant that man should always keep the divine attributes before his mind, endeavoring to possess those attributes, for it is only thus that he can attain to perfection.
And in the slide before that, Sister Ava was talking about the four chief attributes, how all the other attributes are offshoots of those four. So those four, I'm seeing that if we can keep in mind those four, the others will fall into place. That's what I'm seeing in her words.
Okay. Sister Patricia has her hand up.
Yes, sir. Would you please just reflect back to the four chief attributes real quick, please?
Yes, ma'am. Let me go back. The four attributes are Rahman.
No, the four chief.
Yeah, these are the four chief.
Before that slide.
Oh, the slide itself? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
That slide right there?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh, you can proceed. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Let's see, where were we? Four chief attributes of Allah. First one is Rahman, the beneficent. Means doing or producing good, especially performing acts of kindness. The antonyms mean showing or having insensitive or cruel regard for others. Savage, uncompassionate, unfeeling, unkind, or vicious. One quick point. Where would Rahman be on the tone scale?
It would be above 2.5.
Yes, ma'am. It would definitely be above 2.5. Now look at the opposite of the attribute or the antonym. Where
Below
would that be in the tone scale?
2.0 and below.
Yes, ma'am. Most definitely. Then you have Rahim, the merciful. That means compassion or forbearance, patience or forgiving. Antonym means cold-hearted. Rab, Lord and Nourisher unto perfection. And then Malik is master of the day of requital. Anything to add, Sister Tina?
No, sir.
Okay.
Not yet, because all this is gonna be tied together.
Okay.
Is everybody okay?
Fine, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am, Sister Tina, great job, beloved.
All
Right.
praise
Yes,
to
ma'am.
Allah. Okay, next
Yes,
slide.
ma'am.
And
And
the Godfather's doing a good job as well.
it is Godfather thing. Praise be to Allah. And the word requite means to make return for, repay, to retaliate, or to avenge.
Mhm.
So the essential characteristics. You want me to handle this, Sister Tina?
Yes, sir, please.
Since these are the four main or essential characteristics or traits of Allah, and every time you look at a Black man or woman, you're looking at God, can we say that the four chief attributes of Allah are the four chief attributes of Sister Tina, Brother Lukman, Sister Denise, Sister
Sister-
Barbara,
Sister-
Brother
yes.
Fred, Sister
Yes.
Peggy?
That's right. Because I was gonna say it too. Sister Leslie, Sister Peggy, Sister Shayla, Brother Larry, all of us. Can we say that? This is a question. Can we say that?
This is Sister Lestine, ma'am. Yes, I would agree. We can say that. A further question I would ask is, how do we see that?
Okay,
How do we see that?
we're gonna get to that. We're gonna tie it all together, Sister Lestine.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Devil and aberration. What is the meaning of the word aberration? It means a departure from rational thought or behavior. It comes from the Latin word aberrare, which means to wander from. The Latin ab, the word ab, which is a prefix, means away, and arare means to wander. It also means to be in error. It means basically to err, to make mistakes, or more specifically, to have fixed ideas which are not true. This definition comes from the Dianetic Technical Dictionary, page number 2. And then Sister Tina asked the question, with this definition in mind, can we think of examples of aberration in our own self?
Now, I'm specifically asking about us to look at ourselves, and see if we can see aberration in ourselves where we are not thinking, we have a fixed thought on something about ourselves or something about somebody else that's not true. Now, if somebody wants to share, that's fine, but at least let us think about how we have aberrated thoughts within our own selves. Anybody want to share? Okay.
I'll pose an additional question on top of that, Sister Tina. Can that aberrated thought be part of one of those 4 flows?
Yes, sir. The 4 flows of aberration. Yes, sir. And that's that's how the thought comes, by way of the scientific explanation of L. Ron Hubbard's regarding how the thought flows in us, because I can have a negative thought that's not true about someone who's done something to me. I can have a negative thought that's not true because of something I've done to someone else. And I can have a negative thought that's not true about what I see others do to others. And I can have a negative thought that's not true about what I do to myself.
Go ahead, Sister Tina.
So can we all relate to that?
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You have one hand up.
Yes.
Go ahead, Brother Ahmad.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, you actually touched on the actual experience that I wanted to share. To answer your question, earlier in the week, I had a problematic exchange with someone I work with. And I was certain in my mind that it was intentional on the other person's part. But it's been a few days now, and I've allowed myself to at least consider that the other person didn't necessarily mean to be problematic. And I'm glad because it's resulting in a meeting. Again, it's someone I work with. So it really escalated. And I know for sure I wasn't intentional about it escalating. It just was so problematic that I felt the need to have it moderated because the other person and I couldn't come to an agreement. And I know for certain, again, like I wasn't trying to be problematic. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe we need someone else to sit in on this. But again, I'll wrap up. At least I'm allowing myself to consider that the other person, like me, maybe didn't mean it on purpose, just maybe a true miscommunication. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the question.
All praise is due to Allah. Thank you for sharing.
And then Sister Cheryl had made a comment. She said, was it the Most High Elijah Muhammad that conveyed, basically conveyed us to think? This is when we go back to that thinking. Think 5 times prior to saying something. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. Think 5 times before we speak. I myself don't always do that, and that's what gets me in trouble.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
Sister Denise.
Yes, yes, sir. And the same happened to me, Brother Ahmad. I mean, just went completely off on me. in class in front of everybody. It was like a Tupac version, all eyes on me. Like we wanted to see what she gonna do because we know it just happened. So what is gonna be her response? And something inside of me said, you're not gonna know when it's time for you to come in. So you have to hear the silence. And I was like, what are you talking about hearing the silence? But I didn't say anything. And then after all that aberration came out, and then she stopped talking. And it was like, this is it. Okay, so start whatever you want to start. And I started something, and it was like she didn't even say anything to me. Because I felt like everybody was waiting for me to be aberrated. I mean, that's something you don't take that from nobody. And Allah said, no, don't say anything. And I was so glad because a week and a half later, even though I looked at her and I smiled at her and gave her the greeting, and because I really didn't have any animosity or anything. And then I saw her again, and I was polite again, and she couldn't take it, so she said, I'm sorry for what I did to you. I said, oh, don't worry about it. But I'm so glad because sometimes, we don't give people the
Benefit of
the doubt, Yeah, the benefit of the doubt, or allow, as messengers say, proper ways of handling people to save face, And she said, I was crazy. Of course, I knew that. So I didn't want to go there with her. Since you're going crazy, you're going to be by yourself. I got my crazy enough. But it was a lesson for me because I held my peace and held my mouth at the same time. And it was a week and a half later. But she came back. I said, whoa. So that let me know just because somebody in your face, you don't necessarily have to be in their face. Well, I ain't nobody. Black people, we got a way of looking and head rolling and fingers and shaking. Probably not exactly like that, but we let you know we don't like what you said. And I just say, don't say anything. And I didn't. And because of that, a response came back to me. So I said, see, you know, sometimes we have to wait until, because it may not be your turn. I don't know why I'm thinking about chess, but it may not be your move yet. You have to think about it. Okay, it may be their move, and so you have to show patience as well. So that's all. I thought about that. You know, when you might feel like I'm gonna say this to them, you know, and then but you don't hear it when it drops and the conversation is over and you just move into whatever you were gonna do. And I said, boy, if that's not a chess move, Brother Lukman, I'm thinking about that. How what kind of move on the chessboard was that? Because that's what I thought about. Okay, it's not for you to make a move, you know, it's for the other person when you're dealing with chess. Because you can't, you know, how you contemplate, they gonna move here, they gonna move there, and they may not even move in the direction that you thought about.
That's
You
right.
know, maybe something totally different. So that's all, Sister Tina. That's all I got.
And very good, Sister Denise.
Oh,
Thank
Thank you, Sister Denise. I love the way you phrase that. Pardon me for interrupting. I just really appreciate that input. It helped me to think moving into the meeting, which is coming up this week. Appreciate you.
Okay.
And Sister Denise, the only time you have to worry about a chess move is if they have a move that actually is going to be a threat. If the move is not a threat, you ain't worry about it. But sometimes you can actually outplay yourself and lose because you're thinking too much about what everyone else is doing. That's just the chess thing there. All right, Sister Tina.
Yes, sir. That puts you in trouble. Thinking about everybody else. Yes, sir.
Sister Tina, we are up to Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1. Would you like me to continue?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. She says, it makes sense to me that the 4 devils in Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, question 10, we have to murder, are the 4 flows of aberration which flows from the reactive mind. LRH says, if there ever were a devil, he invented it. This is from Dianetics, page 65.
And this is speaking about the reactive mind. If
Yes,
there
ma'am.
ever was a devil, the reactive mind invented it.
Yes, ma'am. Closing the Gap study guide. It says, quote, of course, we learn from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the essence of devil is the nature of the original man. If the original man gives in to the weakness of self or the rebelliousness of self, then that person, no matter what the color, that gives into the weakness and rebelliousness of self against the wisdom and will of the eternal God, they make themselves not only fools by rejecting and rebelling, but they make themselves devils as well. That's page 7. And then page 9, Closing the Gap study guide says, as I grew into this kind of knowledge, you cannot reform a devil, therefore devil must be destroyed. I begin to gain a deeper understanding of what was meant by why does Muhammad and any Muslim murder the devil? If Allah God is to survive in us, we have to murder that in ourselves, which sets up associate gods with Allah, which would lead us contrary to the will of Allah, God. In my increased understanding of this, I began to see that the devil is not only a product of physical grafting, but a product of spiritual grafting. This altered my thoughts, not concerning the nature of white people as they are, but deepened my understanding of the nature of human beings. The question of how to murder the devil effectively Whether that devil is a white man, a yellow man, a brown man, a black man, a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, or Buddhist, the devil is a universal factor. Therefore, if the devil is to be slain, he must be slain by a universal knowledge of God, a universal knowledge of self, and a universal knowledge of the devil.
Mhm.
A knowledge of the devil must not just be the rudimentary knowledge that we learn of the grafting of white people or the birth control methodology that was used to bring white out of black, but we also must understand how a devil is made by grafting on all levels. And what does that mean? By knowing how to make a devil, in the deepest sense, you also know how to kill a devil.
Yes, and these are the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from the study guide, Closing the Gap 20. So with his words, I'm trying to tie together how the reactive mind, how us thinking, having fixed thoughts about others, which are not true, how that is a devil in us. So this is because if we can't help ourselves, it's a little bit harder to help others.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is an exercise of us looking deep into ourselves, into our own aberration by way of the four flows, and how to remedy that by way of the four chief attributes. So we're tying it all together. Everybody okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good teacher.
And we have one hand up. Go ahead, Brother Ahmad.
Thank you. You know, you said that you said a word. I praise be to Allah. I recognize that devil in myself when I realized that I wasn't allowing myself to see the other person other than being problematic. So when you said that, it rung a bell. Not to congratulate myself or anything, but just for me, it resonates because that's exactly what I saw within myself. I was like, no, let me really, really just force myself, even to some extent, to allow the other person to not be wrong and allow myself to, not be right necessarily. So I thank you for that.
All praise is due to Allah. Keyword, force. And we're going to come to that, force, because this is what it's all about.
All right, Sister Peggy, I saw your hand up there for a split second. Did you have a question?
No, sir, that was a mistake.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
I'm going to ask the question right now. Brother Ahmad, do you ever remember hearing the minister talk about when he say, I'm going to point, does anybody remember hearing the minister say, I'm going to point out the devil in you? I'm paraphrasing. So you can choke him, the devil himself. Does anybody remember that? I'm paraphrasing.
Kind of loosely, actually, on a few occasions, something to that effect. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Somebody else said they remember something to that effect?
Yeah, I heard that in one of his lectures.
Okay. Do you know how much
he was talking
force?
about the play. Huh?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. What did you say?
I'm sorry. He was talking about Father Flager because first he was dealing with the white man being the devil, but then this subject was the devil within. And he said, we're going to choke the devil, because in my mind, the white people have always been the devil. And the only white person there was Father Flager. So I was like, we all can choke him. This is true.
Yes.
And he said, looking, and he said, and we were like, he said, you got it up? And we were like, yeah. And he said, okay, choke that devil.
Come on.
I can't choke myself. Choke myself. Because I was so used to him, the white man, him. But it never got to me. that the
Praise.
devil within,
Mhm. Yes,
you
ma'am.
know.
To a
'cause-
lot. Thank
yes,
you for,
that's
go ahead,
why.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it, beloved. That's
Okay.
it. Yes,
Thank you
sir.
for that, Sister Denise. Gave it more mass. So do you know how much pressure, force it takes to choke a person? Does anybody know? Brother Lukeman, what was those numbers? If you remember?
It takes 11 pounds to choke someone by cutting off their jugular vein. It takes 4.4 to choke someone by cutting off their carotid artery. And it takes 33 pounds to crush someone's trachea.
That's a lot of force. So when brother said he had to force himself, that's a lot of force for us to force ourselves to look at ourselves, to choke the devil of self. That's some work. Concentrating on self. That's some concentrated effort too, to do that. Just imagine, just imagine. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Brother Ahmad and Sister Denise.
Okay, closing the gap, it says, we are at the end of this world. The minister's long period of silence was a signal that we are at the end of Allah's mercy, which is the end of this cycle in history. Allah God is bringing in a new world. He is on the verge of recreating. So we experience his attributes, starting with the first creator. When he creates, he must destroy that which is contrary to what he desires to create. He starts from nothing. This study guide, Closing the Gap, is virtually our last chance. Our distance from Minister Farrakhan is equal to our distance from the mercy of God. Not distance in miles, but distance in our state of mind. And this was a quote by Sister Ava. And then we have, Sister Patricia.
Yes, sir. You know, when you said the force it takes to choke the devil out of self, you know, when a person has so many layers of evil, you know that it takes you when you're trying and you only just got the first layer, you stop, and it seems like when you stop, you know, it's still there, and you got to go all the way deep down into the root to be able to stop the growth. Because, you know, if you're only doing if it's 25 layers and you only remove one, it's still there, you know, know enough. And that is work, because when you're out in the garden and you digging, and you got to stop for a minute to rest. And then if you don't, you like, forget this, I'm going back in the house, I'll get this another day. Then a day go by, a week, month, years, it's still there. So when you said that, you know, it is a lot of force work to go to the root and pull all that out of you. And I think to myself, this is my opinion, that's why no one wants to admit that they have the devil in them, because they know it's work. And they, I don't know if they don't know how to do the work, or they just figured, I'll just leave it there. And when you leave it there, you know, this is said, you can't, and I was it's in our lessons, it says, you can't just try to sweep it out the door or put a Band-Aid on it. You actually have to murder it. You know, the devil, you actually have to kill. And that's the only thing, because most people don't come back. Once you kill, you're going to come back.
Right.
So, you know, this is very important right now, because it's stopping us. You know, and then when you got all that pressure like that, and this is the next step coming about the state of the mind, you know, you say, why did that person do what they did, like they did, and got away with it so far? You know, like I don't want to go too far, just like that Jeffrey Dahmer. You know, he did not only hurt one person, he hurt a lot of people. But the devil in that person had been shown with a childhood. But the parents said they didn't think it was a problem. How you didn't think it was a problem? You seen your child cutting off heads of animals. That was a sign right there that something wasn't right. And you ignored it and didn't get no help. And then till he hurt somebody else's children. So when you see something like that in a child, you know, you would think, okay, let me find out why that person's doing that. Why that person's so evil? Why that person keep hurting? You know, and if it's get ignored and you keep going into years of life on the earth, that's you damaging other people. Even ourselves. If we can't murder the devil out of us, we're damaging other people in our circle or around us. And if we're Muhammad's, is that's our name supposed to be, we supposed to be peaceful. We supposed to be able to be out there and help. But you know, it's a lot of us don't want this technology. And you have to say, why not? Why you don't want to be better? Why you don't want to take what's in you? Because I see it in individuals, and I ain't just talking about in the streets. You know, I'm talking about the circle of where we at as Muslims. And I be saying, why you not getting this technology? Why you not releasing that out? Because as we get older into our thoughts and we releasing all this that's been holding us back, you don't see that. You won't, you know, you won't see it. And I noticed that even around certain people, the way they handle things and their response. So I said, oh, they working on them devils. So, but I don't want to get too far because this part coming up, the state of mind is a powerful subject right now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Patricia.
Sister Sultana has her hand up.
Assalamu alaikum, family. How are you?
Walaikum salam, beloved.
I'm good. I'm driving, but I just wanted to say that this is in relationship to the Sufi teaching of, or the Islamic teaching of jihad of the nafs. We're fighting the four enemies of soul, the hawa, dunya, the shaitan, and the lower desires. So if you want to get it just as much in depth on from the Islamic perspective or the Sufi perspective of this battle of the shaitan from within, that's the greatest jihad. That's the greatest fight, is to fight those four enemies of the soul.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Anna.
You're welcome.
Sister Tina didn't know what she was getting into, did she? And on every angle. Okay, state means a condition of mind or temperament. And temperament means characteristic or habitual inclination or mode of emotional response. So an aberrated, a not thinking straight individual, or a negative state of mind keeps us at 2.0 and below on the tone scale, where engrams kick in. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is 40.0 and above. So how do we close the gap? That's the question. For flows, you have flow 1, and that's something that's happening to self.
Okay. Yes, sir, brother. Go ahead, Brother Luke. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you want me to just read the attribute it ties into, and you're gonna expound on it, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here she has flow number 1, something happening to self, and she's connected it to the attribute Rahim, which means mercy. It also means compassion or forbearance, patience, and forgiving.
Okay. Now, that's the flow that most of us look at when somebody does something to me. She did this to me. My mother did this to me. Sister so-and-so did this to me. All right. So in that case, to exercise mercy would be forgiving that person, being patient with that person. This is how I'm tying flow 1 together to mercy, because we don't know what that person is going through. Just like Allah has mercy for us, he forgives us, he is patient with us, and being that we are God as well, we have that ability to have mercy on others, be forgiving with others, be patient with others that have done something to us. How many times we have done something to Allah, and he forgives us. He is patient with us when we repent. I mean, if we're going to keep on doing wrong and don't repent, that's another story. But when we repent, so who's to say someone who's done something wrong to us is not repenting within themselves? They just haven't come to us yet. So to be on the safe side, instead of having fixed thoughts that are not correct, that are not true, to be on the safe side, we should forgive. I'm thinking I'd rather be safe. You know, okay, I'm going to forgive this person. I'm going to be patient with this person. You know, so I matched up flow 1 to mercy. Any comments on that? Any questions?
Sister Milani.
Beautiful.
You're on mute, Sister Milani. You're on mute.
Thank you, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, you started running with it right there.
Yes, sir. I was getting ready. I'm not exactly sure where it is in the basic Dianetic text, but I remember for me, and I've said this to many, many people, one of the most important things I learned from reading that text before I went on to the auditor's course or anything like that was to realize, and I'm not exactly sure if he says this, but that it's not personal. And I think that's what Sister Tina is saying, that to realize that we are all aberrating, we all have issues,
yes.
It ain't personal. And so that allowed me to let things go, to forgive people, and just understand that there's something going on with them that I may not be aware of. I may have pushed a button or something, or I may have said a phrase that reminded them of something, that something happened to them. And so, just because the sister, gets upset or does something that may have offended me, to remember that it ain't personal. And I think for me, that allowed me to forgive and let it go. And so I just wanted to share that. It ain't personal.
It ain't personal. Praise be to God.
It's not personal.
Praise. Yeah, all praise is due to Allah. And what's the answer of that? What's the opposite of mercy?
Cold-hearted.
Right.
Wholehearted. We know how we be. I ain't speaking to her. She get on my nerves. I ain't never gonna speak to him. You know how, right? Yeah. Okay.
You ready for the next one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So flow number 2 is doing something to another. So flow 2 is what we do to somebody else. And she connected that to Rahman, the beneficent, which means doing or producing good, especially performing acts of kindness.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to give an example. I was aberrated because of something I did to someone else. And when I was doing self-analysis, it was a question there, an exercise there that made me think of that person. And I just started crying. And I realized I needed help. So I called one of our sisters who straight wired me on that. Obviously I was thinking crooked. I was thinking I had a fixed idea that was not true, because I'm not the same person that I was at that time. So what I did to that person, I was sorry for it. Unfortunately, that person is no longer here, so I could not go to that person and atone. So that's what was eating me up. I could not atone with them. So by being straight wired, I realized that I was not the same person. So I had to think of how I am now. I would not do what I did then to that person or anyone else, because I'm not the same person. That's the reality. That's what I had to come to grips with. So that was an aberration for me in regards to what I did to someone else. So now I have a better grip on my emotions, on my actions. So I want to think more of doing good and acts of kindness to others. So, and what's the opposite of that, Brother Lukman?
I think if I remember correctly, the opposites, I didn't get a chance to transfer, but the opposite was to be angry, to be hostile.
Okay. Okay. So any comments on that?
Excuse me,
Yes.
it's Sister Lestine.
Go ahead,
Yes.
sister.
I need you to remind me, please. Again, this was flow number 2, something that I did to someone else. And it
Yes.
was compared with the chief attribute of what, please?
Beneficent. Rahman.
Okay, that's mine. Okay.
Doing good, doing or producing good, especially performing acts of kindness.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next flow. Sister Denise. You're on mute, Sister Denise. There you go.
Okay. I was thinking on the minister's 90th birthday, where he was saying to, and as he was talking to the believers in London, Brother Hakeem, the believers, because he wanted to get the believers back together, whether they were offended or they offended someone else. But he just wanted them to come together. And the minister was saying that the God is in your brother and your sister. You just have to look deeply. And I notice sometimes people always, they can say, the bad things about themselves and about others, what others have done. But, the minister said, can you think about the good things? And sometimes people have their own thought process when they think about the good things. And it's because, I think it's because the aberration and the is taking over, so much to where when as a mother, I'm using these examples because when I went to my son's school and everybody said something terrible about my child, and so I went around and everybody was saying how terrible he was. And then I went to this one teacher. She said, "Oh, that's your son? Oh, he's wonderful." I sat there and cried in front of the teacher's face because it was like no one had anything good to say about my child. And so sometimes people feel that way that, there's nothing good about them. And so the minister said, you have to look deeply into each other, okay, to see it. And so we've been in Satan's world, they say he did this and that, but that's what the tech is for, is to remove it. And he told us as auditors, that the people that are in positions of authority, audit them first. Audit them first, okay? Because they're over the people, and they affect the people. So grab them and audit to them first. And so I'm saying, sometimes it's a process. So we don't have to just jump up, be perfect. It's a process. But when we do it, and when we erase that mind that's been causing us problems, then maybe that flow that you talked about, our heart will feel better and our whole body will feel better. When we release and let go of waste, that's the toxic waste that's within ourselves. So that's what I was thinking about when the minister said, you look at them, but don't see what you saw, because he said it's good there. And sometimes we just, I don't know, we just want to hold on to the best. For what? I don't know. So thank you, beloved. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister
You're
Denise.
welcome. Sister Milani.
I'm gonna get off mute first before I start talking this time. What we're talking about also reminds me of our Muslim lesson number 1, question answer number 1. Why isn't the devil settled on the best part of the planet Earth? And I think what Sister is saying, what Sister Denise was just saying, reminded me of that the devil is not settled on the best part of us, but we have to look for the best in our brother, not the worst, because the devil isn't settled on the best part of us. He's settled on the worst. The worst you can always find, that's easy, but you have to look hard sometimes to find the best, but we need to settle on the best part of one another and not the worst.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
remind me of that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I've heard the minister say it like this. He used the moon. He says, the one side of the moon you always see, and then there's the moon has a dark side. And you have some people, they're always looking for the dark side. And I remember the minister saying, but it's not the dark side that ripens the fruit. It's the side that
Yes.
Okay, in the flow 3, others doing things to others. And she tied this flow to malik or master, which means to requite, to make return for, or repay, to retaliate or avenge.
Now, in our spirit, we do not like to see wrong. We do not like to see others doing wrong to others.
Right.
And if we are striving to be as Allah, God, desires us to be, we're going to step in and protect and defend that one who is being done wrong. All right. Now we do the best we can. If the wrong persists and we start hating or severely disliking those who are actually doing wrong to others, that will be against our own soul. At that point, we have to give it to the master of the day of requital, because he knows what's in our hearts. He knows what's in the one who is doing wrong to the other person, and he knows what's in the other person's heart. He may be ordaining it for that person. We do all we can do to stop the wrong, but if it persists and we have no more control over it, then we have to let it go. Leave it up to the master of the day of requital, who is the one who is to avenge, who is to repay, because he knows what's in the hearts of all of us. And he may be working on those individuals. So that's why I tied that chief attribute into flow 3.
Okay. Any thoughts before we move on? Okay, flow 0, self doing something to self. And she connected this attribute to Rob, the nourisher, into perfection.
All praise is due to Allah. And it's also Lord, right?
Yep, Lord and nourisher unto perfection.
Yes. Now, flow 0 is really interesting that it's in the 4th position, but it's flow 0. If we remember Sister Ava's words in Closing the Gap, when Allah is recreating, he destroys that which is contrary to what he's trying to bring into existence. And he starts with nothing. He starts with nothing. It's not a coincidence that we have been made, the minister said, we have been made into a nothing people. So we're an empty vessel, you know, to be used, the 0. Okay. So, and Rob is, and the attribute Rob, Lord, nourisher unto perfection. Okay. So what do we do to ourselves? How do we nourish ourselves mentally, spiritually, physically? What do we put in our own mind? What do we fill our spirit with? What foods are we putting in our body to nourish ourselves unto perfection? So that's why I tied flow 0, what we do to ourselves, to Rob, Lord and nourisher unto perfection.
Right.
Wow.
We got a couple of comments. It says, Brother Ahmad says, this beautiful presentation is about to have me call my coworker and seek a resolution directly. I
Wow.
pray for Allah's guidance to keep the spirit of this meeting. I mean,
All praises due to
Peggy
Allah.
just said, Sister Tina, I resonated deeply with what you said about the necessary force it takes to murder the devil that is in ourselves. It takes intention to murder. Thus, murdering the devil in ourselves must be the result of an intention.
Yes. All praise is due to Allah. Now, what I want to say is that, well, when I started practicing this, when Allah blessed me to observe the 4 flows of aberration and the 4 chief attributes of Allah, and when my mind went to thoughts of negativity in any one of the flows, I replaced it with one of the chief attributes.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for 3 weeks. And I want to say that there's a subtle change that's taking place in me. It's a steady, subtle change where I'm becoming more patient with myself. I still have my little faults. Well, some of them not so little. I still have my issues. Yes, I do. However, I'm not beating myself up like I used to. I have more patience with myself. And I'm more at peace with it. You know, I'm more trusting of Allah. It's amazing. And it's very, very subtle. So this is an exercise. This is an experiment that I've been working on myself. And I pray that everyone sees benefit in it so that, you know, maybe you may want to start trying it, you know, replacing any one of those negative, aberrated flows with one of the chief attributes of Allah. Okay. Next slide, Brother Luqman.
So Sister Tina came up with a new level of processing. We could probably call it 4 attribute processing.
Right, right.
That's right.
Okay, next slide. Murdering the devil in self. Can we see how this process can murder the devil in self more quickly? It all depends on the force we apply to any negative flow or thought. And that is it, family. And I would like to say this one last piece before we handle more questions and comments. That entire PowerPoint, all I did was type it up. All those slides, the order in the slides, the wording, that was all Sister Tina. I didn't have nothing to do with that one.
Wonderful.
So,
Praise be to Allah.
That's such a beautiful collaboration. I know our sister has a certain challenge there, so I appreciate you, beloved, for
and
filling
she
that
made
space
sure
as
every
we
way, the
should.
way she said it, I had to type it the way she said it.
Yes, sir. Right and exact.
Exactly. Was no wiggle room.
I want to give an example of something happened tonight. I was in the kitchen washing the dishes, and I thought about my 3 children. I have 4, but 3 are living. And I've been here in Detroit for 19 months, 17 months since my husband passed. I've been here in Detroit, and none of my children have been here to see me. And I can use their help in organizing and things like that, but none of them have been here to see me. And they've been other places, like Hawaii and what's that place in Louisiana? New Orleans, and the islands, somewhere in the islands. And my son, he has been different places and stuff. I said, So I started getting sad, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes, and I could feel myself dropping down the tone scale. And I said, wait a minute. I said, let me put one of these attributes in place of this. So I put mercy there. And I said, I forgive them for not coming. And the sadness lifted. And then I said to myself, I'm going to be patient with them. They'll get here. And then the sadness lifted even more. And it was gone. And then I was able to think more rationally. Instead of thinking they should have been here. Instead of thinking negative thoughts, I started thinking, well, Allah is in control of it all. So it's because of him that they're not here. So I started thinking of some of the reasons why they possibly could not be here. And I said, oh, okay, all right. So I was able to start thinking more rationally and not being angry or upset with them, because I don't know what's going on in their life. In fact, I do know what's going on in their life, So there's reasons why they're not here, but you know how your mind can take you somewhere else. So I started replacing it with mercy. And then I started adding beneficence, where I said, I'm still going to do all the good I can do for them, however which way I can. And before I knew it, I even forgot about that. And about maybe 10 minutes later, I got a phone call from a family member who said that in a couple of weeks, they're making plans to come here to see me, from one of those family members. And I said, wow, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that.
Beautiful example.
We got 2 comments, and then we'll go to Sister Patricia. One comment, Sister Cheryl says, this workshop has been wonderful. It's like you all are putting it into our language, which gives more understanding. Taking this course many, many years back, I can attest that this is such an understanding presentation that brings it home to us. Thank you, Brother Luqman and Sister Tina. And then we have a comment. Sister Charlotte says, beautiful presentation, Sister Tina. Sister Jacqueline says, Sister Tina, thank you so much for sharing some of your wisdom with it. The presentation, you presented the material well, and it is quite inspiring. Much love, sis. Go ahead.
Excellent, excellent.
Sister Patricia.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir. You know, when you said, sister, about rational, you know, we were just going in some of the PowerPoints, how, you know, aberration depart you from rationality.
Mhm.
And that right there is what I have to always put in the forefront, because I have a list long of situations have happened with my family members, all of them. And I have to, you know, some of them take me away and depart me sometimes from being rational. And that part that I have to allow myself to not let happen. Because when you are not in your right state of mind of having rationality and being rational, then all, like you said, all those thoughts, evil thoughts come up.
Mhm.
And I related to what I was saying earlier. You know, I was just so upset and angry from a family member has done so many times, you know, attack me. And I was being departed from rationality. So that word rational is really important, because it's like, you know, that little zapper when you see a flyer, you know, they used to have these lights when bugs come around you, it zap it, it makes this noise, zip, you know.
Right.
And you know, I have to allow the rationality to snap me back, because when you don't let when you get departed from that straight line, as it says in the Dianetics, you know, you're not yourself.
That's
And
right.
you know, we have to respond in the way that Allah has been creating us to be. We're supposed to be peacemakers. You know, we're supposed to be able to take a problem and resolve it, and let that individual see they're wrong too, you know. But you know, the rationality part, you know, as they used to say back in the day when I first got in the nation, don't let no one take you off your square. You know. And I got to get back to the beginning, how strong I was when I first converted to Islam. I was real strong. Stuff bounced off of me like it was nothing. And I got too emotional with people. And sometimes people think that as weakness, you know, because you show so much, you say yes all the time, and you take their problems on, you be nice all the time, and they think you're weak, so they keep using you. And so, you know, you like, hold up, because you know everybody has a limit. And when you reach that limit, you know, you either start saying no, or you start saying HE docky, you know, say hockey sticks, no, you know. And so you have to be mindful, you know, of who's in coming your path. Because see, my life, I want to be right. I don't want to harm no one. I don't want to mistreat nobody. I want to be right, and I want to live longer. I ask Allah to keep me on this earth, but how He gonna keep me? It makes a difference with myself, allowing all these little rose bush stickers or thrones, you know, to keep coming at me and block it, you know. And so I'm glad you focused that part on rationality, because we really have to, I know I do, I won't say we, but I know myself, you know, I have to stop letting people depart me from my rational state. So I appreciate you pointing that out, because these are key words with me
Yes,
today.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Patricia. All praise is due to Allah.
You got two hands up, but I'll say this one thing real quick. What Sister Tina described to me is right in line with what the minister says when he talked about sandpaper people and wood people. He says the sandpaper people are there, they're very abrasive. He says if the wood could tell you what it was going through, and I'm paraphrasing it, said the wood tell you that it's painful. He said, but eventually what happens to the sandpaper, it loses its grip, and then the wood, all the knots and rough edges are smoothed away, and then you can throw the sandpaper away. So when you look in our lives, some of us just have sandpaper people, but if we can just rise above our emotions, we realize that those people are there really to help us build character.
Yeah.
Sounds easy, but that's, you know, but the sandpaper hurts sometimes. Brother Wadud and then Sister Denise.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Salam.
As a beautiful presentation, Sister Tina, what came to my mind as you talked about murdering the devil of self, I looked at something from a medical point of view. From the medical point perspective, we have medications, some we call bacteriostatic, and then we have medications that are called bactericidal. One is to just hold the pathogen at bay, and the other one is to totally destroy or kill the pathogen. And so when I heard about killing the devil of self, it made me think about being consistent, because we can prescribe an antibiotic and then we start to feel better and stop taking the antibiotic before the course that was prescribed. We may leave a few days untouched and not realize that that may leave a doorway for that pathogen to re-energize itself or reinvigorate. So it made me think about, in killing the devil of self, taking the prescriptions, be it the Holy Quran, be it the teachings, that it may not always feel good as I take a look in the mirror of self, but I have to take the prescription as prescribed all the way until the end. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Wadud.
Thank you.
Sister Denise.
Yes, sir. The Surah 29, the spider. I often say that. Do men think that they're going to be left alone on just saying I believe and not be tried? And I have to say that over and over. You know, you think nobody's going to bother you? You think nobody's going to say anything to you? I believe, yeah, I know. Let's see. Let's see. And I don't know, the minister said that when you say, I'm not sure if it was him, about what you're going to do, it's always another force to see if you're going to do what you said you're going to do. You know, to remind us. Reminding is a blessing on saying, you know, all of us, the minister said about the spider, are going to be tried. But we're champions. He said we're the overcomers. And I have to, you know, if we remember the bad, we need to remember the good stuff too. You know, on just saying I believe. Let's see what you made of. And I recall in coming into the nation, I was going to leave, but I said, wait a minute, it might be something in this for me. And it was. It's called character development. But I didn't know it was going to take all of that. And my mom, when she was leaving us, I didn't know it was going to take all that. You know, because you never know where it's going to come from, who is going to come through to bring out that which, you know, I've always had control of. Yeah, let's see. You know, another force say, yeah, let's see. My mom said to me before she left us, she called me Nisi. She said, Nisi, I want you to hold my 9 brothers and sisters. And I'm telling you, aberration runs in this family. But my 9 brothers and sisters, she said, hold them together. Grown people. I said, Mama, some of us really are crazy. I mean, like really crazy. She said, I know. I said, well, why do you want me to try to do this? She said, because you will forgive them no matter what they do.
Wow.
This is my mother saying to me about my brothers and sisters.
Mm.
It was like, you know, I've seen you. You don't hold no grudges against them. I mean, some of them I really wanted to just slap them down, but you know, I mean, but, you know, who are we? And I had to remember whose soldiers I am and who we belong to. Okay? And I look at the minister, I said, whoa, all of this persecution and ostracized, being talked about, and look at him.
Yeah.
So he's a wonderful example for us to just keep going.
Yes.
That's right.
At 90. So I just wanted to say that. You know, I was honored that she said it, but I was like, what deal with them? You know, my family, my brothers and sisters are monsters. She said, no, it's you. You the one gonna do it. I'm like, whoa. And all while we going through this course, because this has uplifted me. Thank you, Sister Tina, straight wiring me. This has uplifted me. You know, each time I come among all the scientists on this call and the ones that's not, you know, that it uplifts my thinking. So when I'm in front of people, you know, I think it says, no, it's not I, but it's the Christ that lives within. It's his mind that lives within. I know what I would say, but what would the minister say? He said, that's why you're not successful, because you don't think like me. I was like, what? He said, we don't think like me. That's why you don't have what you have. Because you don't, and the key is the people. It's the people, to love God's people. They don't belong to us. I said, oh, yeah, so that's all I wanted to say. I enjoyed the class. I guess you could tell, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you. so much.
Okay, assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
And look at that, it's right at 8 o'clock too.
Praise be to Allah. We did good, Brother Lukman.
You did well. I was just reading. This was all you, Sister Tina. I just typed it up for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother
Oh,
Lukman.
thank you, Sister Tina. That was excellent. Excellent class. Excellent class.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
Ma'am. All praises due to Allah.
Thank you. You killed some devils over here. Probably everywhere, but for sure over here.
Sister
And-
Tina,
and-
Sister Jacqueline here. Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Sister Jacqueline.
Sister, I'm going to call it a session because I have been inspired and I have retention unit has been returned. So I'm going to call it a session. Thank you, beloved.
Praise
All right.
Allah. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Can the church say amen?
Amen.
Amen. Good to see your present, Brother Larry.
Yes. Yes. Before we end for the night, let me say 2 quick points. One is this: if any believer who's studying the tech happens to get those cognitions and you see something and you want to share it with the believers and you want a platform to share it with the believers, by all means, let's, put your PowerPoint together, and, the platform is open to the believers to share whatever it is that Allah bless you to receive for the rest of us. Okay. Second thing, if you did not see Sister Belinda and Sister Jacqueline, the workshop they did, STW, Sister Belinda or Sister Jacqueline, can you just speak on that briefly about what we went over on Tuesday? If you don't mind. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Yeah. We're marrying, inshallah, the tone scale with the tech. So we started at the lower levels. The total failure is -40 on the tone scale. So we're starting there and we're working our way up and identifying these particular emotions within self and in others, so that we can best deal with them and not fall victim to them, especially the ones below 2.0. Anything to add, Sister Jacqueline?
Beloved, you did an outstanding job.
Praise be to Allah. And on this
Yes.
project, on this project, Brother Lukman is lending his wisdom, his Arabic, and all that good stuff. So it's a joint effort, and we're really excited about it.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of research. So right now we're only doing it every third Tuesday in the month.
And sisters are connecting you have the sub-zero tone scale and connecting each of those negative tones to ayats in the Holy Quran, to quotes from Closing the Gap, Message to the Black Man, Our Savior Has Arrived, Fall of America. We're going with the teaching step by step to get from that -40 up to the top of the mountain. Go ahead, Sister Jacqueline.
Yes, I just want to reiterate it's the third Tuesday of the month. The next one is going to be July 18th. And if you did not receive an email and is interested in being on that session, if you could put your email in the chat, we'd greatly appreciate it. And inshallah, send you the notification. Thank you.
So that's July the 18th. It should be weekly, but I'm not going to say nothing about that.
Godfather.
When did that email go out?
I know I sent one out probably, let's see, that was what? That was the 20th. So I sent one out on the 19th. I sent out the link on the 19th.
And then I sent the replay link out on the 20th. I don't know if you received that, Brother Lukman.
Let me go through and I will send it to everyone on my email list. That way everyone gets the replay. I would highly recommend, I mean, it was when she came with the idea, I said, I just want to be a part of it. This was an excellent idea. It's a great concept. It just marries more of the supreme wisdom with the supreme tech. And it furthers, and I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds in saying this, but it just furthers the work of our beloved brother Batin. May Allah be pleased with him, and keeping his spirit alive with us.
Praise be to Allah. You're not overstepping. That is perfect.
Mhm.
Yes, Sister Denise.
Is Brother Eric, is he back? Brother Eric.
Yeah, Brother Eric's been back. Matter of fact, Brother Eric had
Was it this Saturday? This past Saturday?
This past Saturday,
have
brother.
something?
Yes, he did. Brother Eric had a workshop, and it went well too. It was very informational. This past Saturday, Brother Eric had Brother Michael on. They did a workshop dealing with reparations. Excellent workshop. And I will try to see if I can get the replay on that and send that out as well.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. All right, family. Inshallah, I'm not going to even try to come behind that. We will wait till Wednesday. I'll share with the believers what I was blessed to find in problem number 30. We spoke about it briefly on Wednesday. I was blessed to find something else that's actually really interesting. But we can wait till Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. And if there's nothing else, no further comments, questions, corrections, we will go ahead and close out in prayer.
I would like to volunteer and do the end of session.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Got to have that because we won't be like Sister Patricia walking around slapping people. Because I'm with you, sister. I'm not clear yet. So yes, ma'am, Sister Jacqueline. Go ahead and do the end of the session and we'll close out and we'll wrap it up for the night.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family. Please take a few moments to prepare yourself for end of session.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Rapidly sketch over the session just ended. Begin. Thank you. Sketch over what you have been doing again with particular attention to how you have been sitting. Begin. Thank you. Go over the period of this session with regard only to what you have been doing with your hands and things in the exterior world you have heard during this session. Begin. Thank you. Fix your attention upon a pleasant object near you now. Begin. Thank you. And family, let's continue to pray for each member participating in this session, our families and the believers, and also continue to believe and do good. Assalamu alaikum. I turn it over to Brother Lukman.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Attention prayer. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Master of the day of judgment in which we now live, the alone to be served, thine aid do we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray if they have heard thy teachings. Ameen.
Amen.
Thank you, Sister Tina.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Beautiful job. Beautiful
Thank you,
job.
everyone.
Praises due to
Yes,
our God.
thank you.
Love you. Nah.
Alaikum salam, family.
Walaikum salam, Baba.
Alaikum salam.
Gotta have that smile. Gotta get that smile.
Oh, that's funny.